All right, so today we are going to be talking about how to get a video started in Premiere. Now, I am using a Mac, but the Premiere looks pretty much the same, and most of the mechanics are the same on a PC. First of all, one thing you should know about Premiere is that if you delete your video from your desktop, it will be gone from Premiere. Think of Premiere as a mirror, it can only see what is on your desktop. If you delete it, Premiere itself does not save it. So that's the first really important thing to remember. And a lot of people forget that. Also, if you're in a computer lab, if you move computers, Premiere does not remember your project from computer to computer unless you're taking it on a flash drive with you. So, first things first, start a new project. The first thing and the only thing you really want to worry about in this very beginner version is just give it a name. I am going to be calling it tester, I don't know, 4, because I do a lot of these and they aren't so important. But this is for a tester film. So when you're first trying it out, just give it just a little nickname so that you know. When you are doing a movie, though, give it what is called a working title. And that's just so you can find it in all of your things. You might be working on the same movie, but editing them in different files because maybe that you're working on a lot of special effects, or maybe you're working on a lot of things. And so the bigger the file is, the harder it will be for Premiere to work on it, especially if your computers are a little older. Sometimes it's better to chop up your film into little smaller pieces and then put it together in the end. So I'm just going to call this one tester. But let's say I was working on the master meme video. That's the worst name ever. But let's say I was going to throw a bunch of random memes together in a movie. Like, I want to make sure that I'm giving it a name specific to your thing so you don't lose it. All right, this is all you have to worry about. This whole page was all about give it a name. Give it a name. Create. Now, the first thing you need to know, and I want this to be kind of clear so that my dialogue is the same all the time, there is the import area here, which is what I call the cache. And this is where all of your videos can be stored. So I've got a few different ones that I've grabbed from the interwebs, and I'm just going to drag them into here. And since I'm doing just a small tester video, I'm not going to put them in a folder, and because I'm not going to use them very long. If you are working on a project for more than a couple of days, make sure you're organizing them in a folder so that you don't lose them. All right, so the first thing I'm going to show you is the trimmer. So if I bring this up, this is the trimmer. To bring your space to where it needs. This is how long is it? 40-second clip. That is too long. The human attention span is about 2 seconds on B-roll. You want to make sure that if you're using just very like mood setting B-roll, which is just kind of extra footage, to kind of give a sense of space. So if you're outside, B-roll might be what you're looking at. Maybe you're looking at a yard, maybe you're looking at a field. B-roll is just what a person would be looking at. And if you're doing a tester film, you're going to use a lot of B-roll together. Don't make your B-roll any longer than 2 seconds. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the trimmer. This is the mark in, and this is the mark out. And this gray line is what will be dragged into your timeline. So I'm going to drag this over a couple seconds. Now, this little section here, this is all I am dragging in. That's about 3 seconds. I want mine to be about 2 seconds. So I'm going to finish dragging it by, when you hover right over this, you're going to get this little bracket. If I have it this way, the bracket will be pull it out. If I go this way, the bracket will pull it in and shrink it in. So now it's less than 2 seconds. I'm going to bring it a little longer. There we go. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to bring in a second clip. The second clip, again, I'm just going to go boop, and then I'm going to just take a couple seconds, and I'm going to go boop, and I'm going to bring it in. Again, this one's much longer, so I'm going to drag it down, so I'm only dealing with a couple of seconds. Now, let's say it's a little bit longer, but it's like going too slow. One of the things you can do to shorten your clip is by changing the speed and duration. So speed and duration is a right click on your clip. So make sure your clip is highlighted, and then you're going to click on it. And you're going to go to where it says speed and duration. Now, another thing you can do is use a shortcut key, which is Control R. So I'm going to just click on this. And if I want to make it faster, I'm going to up the speed. So 200 will be double speed. If I want to make it slower, I would make the speed at a lower percentage. So like 50% will make it 50% of the speed. So I'm going to just speed it up 200%. I'm also going to hit reverse speed just so you can see what that looks like. That's going to make everything play in reverse. So now I've got this. And now it's going the opposite direction because that wasn't like super like a crazy transition. You're not worrying too much about it. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to export. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to export and you're going to, again, make sure you're giving it a name because the name, your working title, will often not save for your final title. And so what you want to do is give it a name so that that will be how it exports. The next thing you want to do is click on this. This is actually a button. And in yours, if you're on a PC, you're going to get a slightly bigger box. You're going to want to just make sure that it's saving to your desktop so you can find it. If you are very organized and you want to save it in a specific files, it's different, but desktop, you'll definitely be able to find it. This is where I'm going to give it its name, tester. And then I'm going to make sure it's an MP4. I'm going to click save, and then it changes it there. Now, the other thing is this says high bit rate. I'm going to change this so the whole thing goes in at 1080p. Now, if you're working in bigger video, that's fine. But for your first project and for most projects, 1080p is actually still the standard. If you're turning something into a film festival, there's very, very few situations to date right now where anything higher than 1080p is acceptable. So that is the next thing that you're going to do is make sure you're not exporting as giant files. Make sure you're being like logical with how big your files are. We're going to keep the format the same and we're going to say export, and then it exports. Don't touch anything until it's done exporting, otherwise it's going to be gone. And as you can see, it pops up on my file. So that is a crash course into Premiere. Good luck editing.